Climbing the 7 major summits in the world was a challenge first completed in 1985 by wealthy amateur mountaineer Dick Bass. His goal was one of those nice mathematically pleasing challenges that caught the imagination of the public and press, and it's credited with spawning the business of guided amateur mountaineering. Since the first successful 7 summits, another 200-odd people have also managed to complete the challenge, including a 17-year-old kid and a handful of skiers. One person that stands out on the finite list of people who have tried it is Stephen Koch. Stephen's story is one of audacity, resilience, and an undenying yield to push the limits of the human capability in the world of ski and snowboard mountaineering. Born in the heart of Wyoming's rugged landscape, Stephen grew up with an innate love for the mountains. This passion eventually propelled him into the world of extreme snowboarding and alpinism, a combination that would define his life and legacy. Stephen's journey into prominence began with his daring first descents in the Tetons. Among his early feats, one winter night in 1995 stands out. At a crowded Jackson, Wyoming bar, he overheard a rival, a fellow adventurer, boasting about tackling a precarious line on the northeast ridge of Cody Peak. The route, with its narrow path, terrifying steepness, and a 300-foot cliff at its terminus, was a prize for any mountaineer. True to his competitive spirit, Stephen quickly resolved to claim it for himself. The next day, after completing a morning shift at the Alpenhof Lodge, Koch ascended the ridge and executed a flawless descent, naming the line "Talk is Cheap" in a nod to his rival's unfiltered bravado. This marked his 10th first ascent in the Tetons and cemented his reputation as a daring and skillful mountaineer. Emboldened by his success, he then conceived a grand plan, the 7 Summit Snowboarding Quest, an ambitious goal to snowboard the highest peak on each continent. Announced with much fanfare when he was 24, the project promised to blend his passion for adventure with global exploration. His early successes included snowboarding down South America's Aconcagua, Europe's Mount Elbrus, Africa's Mount Kilimanjaro, and North America's Mount Denali. Each of these ascents showcased not only his snowboarding prowess, but also his mountaineering expertise. In 1993, Stephen tackled the previously mentioned Mount Denali, the highest peak in North America, and despite encountering technical difficulties with his equipment, a binding issue that made turning on steep, icy slopes nearly impossible, he persevered. A slip during a warm-up run above base camp served as a stark reminder on the mountain's dangers, yet he managed a successful descent, marking a critical milestone in the 7 Summits journey. On Aconcagua, the highest peak in South America, Stephen faced relentless winds and frigid temperatures. The mountain's barren, windswept slopes presented a stark contrast to the lush valleys below, yet Koch navigated the challenging terrain with precision, carving his way down the icy expanse to complete another historic first snowboarding descent. Mount Elbrus in Europe brought its own set of challenges. The dormant volcano snowfields, punctuated by crevasses and weather that shifted unpredictably, tested his resilience. One of his toughest challenges was Tanzania's Kilimanjaro. With its unique position near the equator, it offered a different kind of challenge. The ascent through tropical forests gave way to alpine deserts and eventually to its iconic snow-capped summit. Breaking the law to even attempt the descent on the Umbwe route, he chose that line as it was the steeper of the options available. However, it offered no fixed huts for the climber to rest during the night. Also, having grade 4 ice climbing mixed in with rocky scrambles, even getting to the peak was a challenge. One of his partners had to turn back just before the summit as he was showing signs of elevation sickness, but after 3 nights on the mountain, Stephen made it to the summit. Switching out his crampons for his snowboard, he suited up for the first ever snowboard descent of Kilimanjaro. Making his first turn in the early afternoon hours, the sunny day quickly turned into a thick fog, leaving him with just 20% visibility as the slopes were reaching 40 degrees in steepness. Eventually reaching the bottom of the glacier, he had done it, naming the descent route Sick Day. It was a nod to his buddy who wasn't able to attempt the descent with him. Despite these achievements, the path to completing the 7 summits was fraught with setbacks. Public interest in his quest waned, and sponsorships dwindled. By the late 1990s, Stephen had completed only 4 of the 7 peaks. Undeterred, he soldiered on. Driven by a personal commitment to finish what he started, in December 1999, he reached Antarctica's Vinson Massif, a remote and inhospitable peak. The extreme cold and isolation of the mountain made this descent particularly challenging. However, Stephen's careful planning and execution paid off, as he successfully snowboarded down Vinson's icy slopes, adding another feather to his cap. In February 2001, he turned his attention to Carten's Pyramid in Oceania. At 16,023 feet, this jagged limestone peak posed unique challenges with its steep and rocky faces. The ascent required technical rock climbing skills, and the snowboarding descent demanded precision and adaptability. But he was once again successful as he rode down the pyramid, further solidifying his reputation as a pioneer in combining snowboarding with mountaineering. As the years passed, Stephen's focus began to shift. While snowboarding remained central to his identity, he found himself increasingly drawn to pure alpinism. This evolution was exemplified by his exploits in Alaska. where he and a climbing partner completed a trio of difficult rock and ice routes, including a new line on Denali's southwest face, which they named Light Traveler. These climbs earned them a nomination for the prestigious Poulette d'Or Award, which is given out for ascents which emphasize style, self-sufficiency, and technical difficulty. Yet the ultimate challenge still loomed: Mount Everest. Having left the world's highest peak for last, Stephen faced heightened pressure to complete his quest. Compounding this challenge was the fact that Everest had already been skied and snowboarded by others, including Davo Karnikar and Marco Siffredi. Determined to distinguish himself, he planned an audacious descent of the Hornbeam Collar, a perilous avalanche-riddled chute on Everest's north face. His vision was to climb and snowboard the Collar in true alpine style, without supplemental oxygen or Sherpa support. The Hornbeam Collar's steep, unforgiving slopes represented the pinnacle of Stephen's ambition. The route had claimed the life of the earlier mentioned Marco Siffredi, who disappeared during a similar attempt in 2002. Check out the video on my channel for a full breakdown of that story if you're interested. Having friends who expressed concern, fearing Stephen had backed himself into a psychological corner where failure was not an option, Stephen knew the quest was deeply personal, a culmination of years of dedication and sacrifice. He was all in. In an interview with Outside Magazine before his Everest descent, he said, "I've been talking smack about this thing for 10 years. I need to finish what I set out to do. I'd feel like an idiot if I didn't. I just want to do this, and then I want to be free. I can't wait to be free." And with that, in September 2003, it was finally time. Being a part of an expedition on Mount Everest's northeast ridge, he knew it was either do or die. As the team made their way up the mountain, they faced a ton of adversity, but they made it to 22,454 feet, which was 6,500 feet shy of the summit. The whole group then decided they had to turn around. Knowing that this was his life's goal, Stephen knew the conditions were just not suitable for a final push, and turned around as well. Snowboarding down every section he could, once back at camp, he felt incredible disappointment, a bit of relief, and a lot of sadness. Quote, "It was just every emotion in my body going off at that moment." 3 months after the attempt, he finally said the 7-summit quest was over, leaving it just short 6.5 summits. Stephen's story serves as a cautionary tale for adventurers who push the boundaries of what is possible in extreme environments. His boldness and passion for mountaineering and snowboarding inspired many, and his ability to push things to the edge, or to hold back when conditions weren't right, is a testament to his mountaineering knowledge. There are countless stories of those who didn't know when to call it quits, and for him to do exactly that is truly inspiring. Today, Stephen travels the country doing speeches on mountaineering and teaches snowboarding wherever he can. From the Tetons to the 7 summits, his achievements stand the test of time and show the power of determination and the allure of the mountains. While the conclusion of his Everest attempt remains a defining chapter, his legacy as a pioneer in snowboard mountaineering is firmly etched in history.